Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
I'm Hannah Elliott.
And I'm Matt Miller, and this is Hot Pursuit. Coming up on the show, we speak with Mercedes CEO Ola Kallenius.
This is a really big deal that Ola came to talk with us, Matt, and I am very excited about what he chose to share with us, a world exclusive on Hot Pursuit.
The last time we had it, I think the last series was in 2013. You could buy it. We had a final edition. If you had bought one of those, and I know that Bloomberg viewers are savvy business people, you would have gotten it a little bit north of $100,000. If you want to buy one now, a used one, albeit, you probably have to pay between $400,000 and $500,000. So you see the icon status.
That is coming up on the show. But first, I want to talk about a competitor to that G-Wagon. I've been driving the Land Rover Defender Octa for the last week. And Hannah, I'm sure you know, this is the V8 version, and it is essentially a BMW V8, a twin-turbo 4.4-liter powertrain that they use in the Range Rover and have been for a few years. Otherwise, you can't get a V8 in the Defender anymore. They did have the beloved supercharged 5-liter powertrain in that previously. Now this is your only choice for a V8, and it's a stunning vehicle. I think from the exterior, they've executed it really well. Mine came in this really cool dark green, almost black color, but the price is so high for such a Spartan vehicle. You know, the Defender on the interior is pretty Spartan. They've made it nice with leather and stuff, but $153,000 and change, I think, is the starting price before you add any options, which makes it, 60% more expensive than a Bronco Raptor, 50% more expensive than a Jeep Wrangler 392, and even more expensive than the base Mercedes G-Wagon, which I think is a huge ask, right? Because it's just, it's special, but is it as special as a G-Class?
Well, here's my question to you. For that price, if I saw the Octa on the street, would I know it's the special one or not? No, I don't think, unless you are a Land Rover Defender fanatic, you might know it's the Octa and I might know it's the Octa, but no one else would know. And honestly, you can get really cool colorways in the other models. So yeah, I don't think it sounds particularly good. It's not a big displacement V8. It almost sounds like an inline six motor. And maybe that's just the fact that I know it's got a BMW heritage, but you wouldn't know. No. Yeah. It's interesting because you think my thought process is, okay, like Defenders were ranch vehicles forever. So does it seem weird that one is that expensive? Yes. But then you got to say, well, the G-Class was a military vehicle. Is it fair to hold the Land Rover to a different standard? I don't know. Somehow the Land Rover feels like it should be a little bit more attainable to me somehow.
Yeah. And the weird thing is this price is higher than the price you would pay for a Range Rover with the same powertrain. So, okay, it's got bigger turbochargers. It has over 600 horsepower. They've beefed it up a little bit, but you can get the Range Rover, which is, a step up from the Defender. Certainly in terms of luxury, for like 135 with the 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. So I don't know how many sales they're going to make of this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There's also a part of me that's like, well, what about just a Ford Bronco? If you're going in that direction and you want something kind of retro, but the new version of it, you could just get a Ford Bronco, right? Call it even.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's probably what I would do. I love the way the Bronco looks. I prefer it to the Defender. It's not quite as big, the Bronco. And then the one issue that will be important to a lot of well-heeled buyers is
the NVH issue that I will speak about in just a little bit with Ola Kallenius, the CEO of Mercedes. Like the Bronco, no matter what you do to it, it's loud. It vibrates a lot. It's pretty harsh in terms of like getting in and out and living with it on a daily basis. Like it's great. That's what you want with that kind of vehicle for a lot of people. But this Defender, much like the G-Class, is very Volt-like on the inside. When you get in there, you're completely protected from everything outside. And, you don't hear everything outside. It doesn't rattle or shake too much. So at least it's got the noise, vibration, and harshness under control in terms of what you would expect from a luxury vehicle.
Well, that's good to hear. I can't wait to drive it. I think I might have that coming up in my roster. I hope I can drive it and compare it and see if I agree with you, Matt.
All right, that's coming up. Well, your drive will come up on a future program.
Yeah.
And the Mercedes interview, CEO of Mercedes, is coming up on this program. You're listening to Hot Pursuit from Bloomberg Radio. I'm Matt Miller along with Hannah Elliott. We've got more on the way after this. Now let's talk about concept cars. Audi just rolled out a new one, and Hannah, you were there.
Yes, I was there, and I'm still here actually in Milan. The early part of this week, Audi had a big media event last night at a hotel owned by the Ferragamo family, incidentally, or created by them. Actually, I think it's owned by the Vatican. Anyway, Audi debuted the Concept C, which they are saying is basically their complete moonshot revolution that they are basing all of their brand imaging and all of their products on from here going forward. The Concept C is a 2-seat electric sports car that basically, if you can imagine a TT and an R8 pushed together, you kind of get the Concept C. Although the Concept C is longer and wider than both of those, especially the R8, that's kind of what you're looking at. It's very brutalist. It's like a monolithic block. And it's also got a drop top. It's a Targa style sports car. So yeah, it was very interesting to spend a few days with Audi and hear about this car and hear them talk about striving for clarity, which is their new tagline. And they basically were very upfront about saying, we got way too complicated. We were trying to be all things to all people. We were too complex for our consumers. We tried to do everything all at once. And now we are going to pare it all back. And we're doing simple, minimal in a real way. And the Concept C is their attempt at that.
They can learn from Land Rover Defender because that interior is minimalist. But actually, it makes sense to me. Audi is the luxury brand of Volkswagen. And I can see that they do their sort of frou-frou stuff with Bentley or Porsche or Lamborghini, right? They might as well keep it simple, minimalist luxury with Audi. I feel like that tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Bentley is the luxury brand of Volkswagen, really. And, throw in Lamborghini. Honestly, I think Audi has really been struggling. And they admit it. I mean, this isn't anything new. They've struggled to even be a choice behind Porsche, obviously within their own family, but even behind BMW and Mercedes, if you had asked me, what does Audi mean? I would have been a little unclear. It's been vague. So yeah, this, it's interesting that you bring up luxury brand because yesterday in a roundtable, their chief, Dolner, said, we want to be the most aspirational premium brand out there. And he kind of admitted he knows they're not right now, and they really need to ramp up and go for it.
I guess they're like premium economy for Volkswagen, and then Bentley's like the full-on business class or first class. I feel like, by the way, Audi, my dad had an Audi 5000 when I was a little kid. Audi, cool. The RS2 was the first performance car that I ever drove. I drove an RS2 with a stick in Cologne when I was like 18 years old. And then an Audi A4 station wagon was the first new car I ever bought with my own money. So I have a real personal connection. Also, Audi made my favorite concept vehicle of all time, the Audi Nanook, Nanuk.
Wow.
Check it out.
That is a
very
clear reference.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy for them to make somewhat of a comeback. I thought, the e-tron era, at the very beginning, I thought this is going to take off, and it kind of didn't. So I'm glad that they're stepping it up.
This is a whole new era for sure at Audi. They have their designer, Massimo Frisella. Of course, it's perfect for our use. He was formerly at Jaguar Land Rover until last year. Last year, he moved to Audi, and obviously he didn't completely design this new Concept C. He didn't have that much time, but Audi was quick to say that he did have his hands on this vehicle, and Massimo is obsessed with the TT. Like, that is his icon. I didn't hear you mention the TT in your list, Matt, so that makes me think maybe it's too small for us. But,
For me, it's small.
Yeah. I never liked the TT. It felt too small. But Massimo loved it. And it's interesting that we've been talking about Land Rovers because he was at Land Rover for many years. Now he's at Audi. And he thinks Audi has icons too, just like you're saying, Matt. And of course, the Auto Union cars from the 30s, like those old race cars, really were exceptional. And I think Audi's trying to retain some of that glamour as well.
Yeah, and the Class B Quattro as well. All right, coming up on the show, we speak with Mercedes CEO Ola Kallenius. I'm Matt Miller, along with Hannah Elliott. More Hot Pursuit after the break. We are now joined by Ola Kallenius. He's chairman of the management board and CEO at Mercedes-Benz. Ola, thank you for joining Hot Pursuit.
Pleasure to be with you guys. And yes, we are in the final preparations for this weekend. And we have, of course, brought some great world premieres to Munich this year.
So what are you going to show? What's the standout debut for you at Munich this year?
The standout debut is the all-new electric GLC, which is based upon a whole new architecture that we call Mercedes-Benz Electric Architecture, MBEA. Considering that the GLC today in our portfolio is our most sold model, we have taken that extremely popular car and literally in every dimension taken it to the next level. So this is a very, very big world premiere for us.
So, Ola, tell us how important this GLC is in hitting some of your targets that you've talked about. Obviously, the world EVs is slightly chaotic these days. How crucial is this car for Mercedes?
It's a very important car because that segment, the compact SUVs, that's a model that is popular everywhere in the world. And that segment has grown for us over the years. And indeed, it is individually the most sold car from Mercedes-Benz. So when you do that, you really want to delight Mercedes fans and customers around the world and also surprise them a little bit. So in this particular case, I think the engineers, they looked at this as a special challenge. And of course, it's a second generation electric vehicle. So in all powertrain dimensions, incredible on efficiency, should be around benchmark in its class. With that coming a good range, incredibly fast charging. Charging almost turns into the same thing as fueling, not quite, but you can charge several hundred kilometers in 10 minutes. So all of those dimensions, and for those people who maybe have not made the leap into the electric era yet, we had tried to engineer out every reason why you wouldn't. And of course, it's going to be a Mercedes through and through. It ushers in our new design language. So next generation design language for Mercedes will start with this car. And if you step into it, you feel at home. It's like a welcome home feeling of a Mercedes-Benz. And considering it's a compact SUV, it's pretty big. If I put myself in my most comfortable driving position, and I'm 6'4.5", I could actually sit behind myself very comfortably, have space between the seat and my knees, and certainly between the head and the very beautiful sky roof. So we have thought this packaged through into the last detail. So I think this car is something that is going to convince Mercedes fans around the world.
Sounds impressive, certainly for tall drivers. Hannah and I both have the same issues I'm sure that you have in a normal vehicle. What about the boldness that we've seen from BMW? Some analysts are worried that Mercedes may be a little bit more conservative. I'm not sure that they can make that judgment until they see the vehicle this weekend. But, 400 horsepower from a dual motor setup in the Neue Klasse, 400 miles of EPA range, 200 miles of charging in 10 minutes. Can you meet or beat those standards?
If you would just take out the technical spec book of the new GLC, we're not going to be shy. In literally every single dimension, we will be world-class. In many, the outright leader, and in some, amongst the best. So we have pulled out all the stops with the new GLC. So I'm not at all worried that the technical specs of this vehicle has anything to hide. And I also would like to highlight the new Mercedes-Benz operating system and the ADAS capability of this vehicle. It literally has 27 sensors looking in all directions, and it has the supercomputer on board and all the genes for jumping into level 2++. Automated driving from the word go, where it's regulatory allowed. So literally it feels like you have an autonomous car, still in this case supervised by the driver. And if you then add the absolutely insane ultra screen pillar to pillar, and I'm talking about one seamless screen in this case, and how we have added any digital experience that you can possibly dream of to this car, but also given it an aesthetic look, like maybe you have on your smartphone, you have a very, very nice and beautiful wallpaper, all of those things that also makes the feeling inside the car a digital, delightful experience. But beyond the high tech, where we're definitely going to be on the leading edge, it's more than this. It's a car made for you. So every single dimension of the car, the safety, the way it rides and drives, how the seat wraps around you and you can drive hundreds of miles and you feel refreshed when you step out of the car. The things that make a Mercedes-Benz a Mercedes-Benz, all of those things have been taken to the next level in this car as well. So creating an important vehicle like this, it's not just about the flashy technical numbers that we have. It's really thinking through, what does the human want? This is human-centered innovation at its very best. Stay tuned for Sunday when we reveal it.
Ola, I'm curious, on the other side of things, I know obviously you're the head of the European automaker body, the ACEA, and you've been pretty vocal about regulations that are realistic for meeting decarbonation goals, et cetera. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by realistic? What would that look like to have a market-driven regulatory infrastructure versus something else?
So in the role as president of ACEA this year, and it's something that rotates between the CEOs of the car makers in Europe, you have to kind of take off your own hat, running your own company. So I take off the Mercedes-Benz hat and I put on an industry hat and talk to all the OEMs, but not just the 20 plus OEMs. In this case, we stand side by side with the sister organization for the suppliers that is called CLEPA. And Matthias Zink of CLEPA and I are working with the suppliers and the OEMs to do an inventory of where we stand right now in the regulatory environment and how we successfully transform this industry and successfully find the right path towards decarbonization. So I want to stress that this is all the OEMs with, of course, some various opinions, but a strong common denominator and literally thousands and thousands of suppliers. And the conclusion that we come to is quite clear. We're all on the way towards zero emission. There are no ifs or buts. That is the journey. That is the destination. The EU, as an economic region, has committed to being net zero by 2050. We wholeheartedly support this. We also wholeheartedly support that electrification is the main road to this. So the electric vehicle will play the main role in achieving those targets on the way to net zero. To demonstrate that, not only have we in the last 5 or 6 years put hundreds of billions of investment into this, manufacturers and suppliers, and launched hundreds of vehicles. So there is a very broad offering already. And on top of that, we're about to invest the next chunk of hundreds of billions into this. So the industry is committed. I want to say that as a preface before we go into the challenges, and we need to make some course corrections. In spite of the ambition, in spite of those good efforts, one must recognize, and for the world as a whole, the world markets as a whole, it's a very heterogeneous picture. You used the word chaotic. I would say heterogeneous, that the state or the take rate of BEVs, what we thought 5 or 6 years ago, is not yet at the level in 2025 that we should have been at. And we're now looking at kind of 9 years' time to go to literally 100%. And that's where we're saying, okay, if we haven't achieved as a market, as a region, already the milestones, then we analyze why is that and where do we make a course correction? And we suggest, in general, 2 main things. One is absolutely doubling down on the enabling factors and putting money behind and effort behind everything that you need to make electric mobility successful. I'm going to use one example, charging infrastructure. The EU has 27 individual countries. I would say in about 6 or 7 of those in the last 5, 6 years, a significant effort has been made and charging infrastructure has been built up. Maybe not as much as it should have been at this stage, but it's on the way. But literally in 20 of the 27 countries, it's still in its infancy. Do we really believe to cover 100% of the purchase intent by 2035, in 9 years' time, that in those 9 years, we're going to go from an infancy stage to fully fledged, built out charging infrastructure in every single country, because we're talking about the whole market here. That's going to be a Herculean task. Whatever we do, we have to double down on this to make sure that electric mobility becomes even more attractive to consumers and ultimately is the thing. You can couple that with all sorts of other measures where we're suggesting to the Commission not a ready recipe and say, do exactly this, but think about incentivization and nudging when shaping policies to make the total cost of ownership of the electric vehicle even more attractive so that we can get ultimately one day to full penetration. But it seems in just stock taking, it's a very, very big ask. Now that we're around 15% take rate in 2025, achieved in the last 5 or 6 years, to do the 85 in 9 years' time. But that ask, double down on the enabling conditions. That's number one. Number two, we think that the method in general that is being applied, select only one stakeholder of many in this once in 100 years systemic shift and put the complete burden on that stakeholder, in this case, the producer of the vehicle. And if the producer of the vehicle doesn't make it, sanction it with draconian penalties. We don't think that method, that planning method, is the best method. We want to turn it on its head and say, why don't we use market forces instead and switch to a market economy-driven approach with incentivization and nudging, free up the market for technology neutrality and let the consumer choose. And I underline again, with the electric car as the main actor in this play, but also allow different forms of hybrid formats and maybe a sliver at the bottom of combustion, high-tech combustion, electrified combustion vehicles, where some of the segments of the markets by 2035 are still hard to abate from a consumer point of view. If we switch to that, we should then open up the horizon and look at the complete CO2 footprint of what's going on, not just the tailpipe emission of the newly registered vehicles that are bought in that year. In fact, the car park in Europe is 250 million vehicles, and new registration sits at around 13 million vehicles. So you have, in that sense, maybe 5% turnover of the fleet every year if consumers don't choose to hang on to their cars longer. So why don't we look at the CO2 footprint in a more holistic way and see if we can find ways, if we flexibilize 2035, to also reduce CO2 of the whole value chain here. So we want to open up the discussion. And if we do that, we can avoid, and I'll end with this for now, we can avoid an effect that maybe if the system is not ready, what could consumers do? And I think this is a scenario that is not unlikely. If not every purchase intent is covered by then through charging infrastructure or other reasons why the consumer wants to go for something else, the consumer might buy the last combustion vehicles in 33 or 34, hold on to it longer, the car park gets older, very bad for decarbonization. The market reduces drastically or maybe even collapses in 2035, and it takes 3 or 4 or 5 years for it to recover back up to the 13 million. You would destroy so much economic value, harm so many companies, so many suppliers, mid-size, smaller, family-owned businesses. Why would we want to jeopardize that economic strength of Europe's biggest industry when there perhaps is a better path to green? That is what these two associations, ASEA and CLEPA, are suggesting.
It makes total sense, Ola. And I just wonder, you don't have a lot of time left, right? And I think the EU is going to revisit this 2035 goal next year. So have you had a chance to speak with for example, the incoming German government? Because they're willing to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to defense of Ukraine. Shouldn't they be willing to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to, planet Earth, and also, how many hundreds of thousands of auto workers are there in Germany? Is Friedrich Merz going to step up?
In this role as president of the association, I and also my counterpart for CLEPA, of course, we're speaking with policymakers in Brussels on all levels, but also in the different countries. And yes, of course, we have also spoken to the German government. And I think and many other governments for that matter, but also to trade unions and other stakeholders. As I said, this is a multi-stakeholder systemic shift once in 100 years. We're talking about the transformation of the world's biggest industry, so it's not a small task here. What I think is happening now is that we have a debate, both in the industry and with many of these stakeholders, and certainly in the political space, where a lot of people are thinking like us, saying, oh, hang on a minute, if it's not working the way we intended to, yes, we need to have a political conversation about it. But of course, there's also a strong commitment to say decarbonization is one of the major tasks of this generation. Let's not lose any speed or any momentum in decarbonization. So I think there are some stakeholders that go like, if we do go for flexibilization, what's going to happen? Are we going to slow down? It's not what we're suggesting. We're suggesting to switch method to a method that we think is actually going to be more successful than the current method. So I am fully aware that this political debate is alive. And right now we're in this period where a common opinion for the EU, if they're willing to change, which we urge them to do, needs to be formed. So expect the next weeks, months, an intense debate on this. And indeed, the European Commission is listening to the auto industry, as is the German government. That is, for instance, the reason why they invite us to a summit meeting on the 12th of September to discuss these matters. So we're not at the end of the discussion. I would say we're in the middle of the beginning.
I'm Matt Miller along with Hannah Elliott. You're listening to Hot Pursuit. We have more coming up after this.
Ola, let's pivot a little bit to what has been really a bright spot for Mercedes-Benz, the G-Class. You and I have driven multiple variants of the G-Class together, and there's so much excitement around that vehicle and so much fandom and fervor for decades. You guys have already confirmed there will be a baby G coming. What can you tell us about how that is coming along, the planning for that? And also, can we expect any other variants of the G-Class coming our way?
So we're now in full series development of this little brother to the big G, and we're very excited about that car. We have shown it to some of our trusted dealers and other people that we know are fans of the brand, and I get the same reaction every time, and they go like, "Wow! I mean, is this the G that I've been waiting for my daughter or for my son or for myself?" So yes, I can confirm that series development has started of this vehicle, and it is in the pipeline. So stay tuned. But now that you mention it, and yes, Hannah, I vividly remember going up the famous Schöckel mountain outside Graz in Austria with you, over rocks and trees and what have you, the most hardcore of off-roading in that electric G. And I think we mastered that quite well together. So the G is a legend. It's an icon in our portfolio. There is another surprise coming on Sunday in Munich at the IAA. We will announce the rebirth of the G-Class Cabriolet. So the last time we had it, I think the last series was in 2013. You could buy it. We had a final edition. If you had bought one of those, and I know that Bloomberg viewers are savvy business people, you would have gotten it a little bit north of $100,000. If you want to buy one now, a used one, albeit, you probably have to pay between $400,000 and $500,000. So you see the icon status of a G Cabriolet. And we have had so many fans say, "When are you going to bring it back? When are you going to bring it back? When are you going to bring it back?" Now is the time to do it. So we have decided to kick off the development of an open-top G.
And can I ask, I have so many questions about this. I'm a big fan, former owner. I had a 2020 G500 in Berlin that I loved. I've now turned it into a house in Scarsdale, by the way. What kind of powertrain are we expecting? Could this be electric and gas? Because I think the electric powertrain really works well for the G-Class. I know you and Hannah drove it in Schöckel. I got a chance to drive it around Westchester, which was also fantastic. And how do you deal with NVH? Like, one of the best things about the G-Class is that you're in an absolute vault. Compared to other off-road vehicles, it's just worlds of difference in terms of the noise, vibration, and harshness. How do you deal with the convertible?
So on the powertrain, we'll let you guess for a little while longer. So I'm not going to reveal that here today. But trust me, the hardcore G fans are going to love what we're going to do there. And in terms of NVH, I think this is pretty amazing what has happened on our convertibles over the year. I myself, even though, of course, I get to drive a company car and I'm thankful for it, I feel like a kid on my birthday and Christmas on the same day. Every day I step into, in my case, my EQS SUV Maybach. I bought last year a personal car. I bought an SL, which is obviously a convertible. And I've been driving SLs and test driving and stuff like that over the many years. So I know obviously what a convertible feels like. And when it comes to NVH, what struck me the most next to the incredible beauty of this car and the performance was that when I took it for the first time on the Autobahn and I pushed it a little bit, is how incredibly quiet it is. And this is what I love about our engineers. You know, they never stop, right? It always gets better and better and better. So you can rest assured when we electrify, when we open up the G and make it open top, don't worry about it. You're going to be able to have a conversation with whoever sits next to you.
Okay, I got to ask, what kind of timeline are we talking about here? If the baby G might be out in 2027, what are we thinking for the Cabriolet?
Not too far away.
That's it.
Let's just say that. Start working on selling that house, Matt. You don't have to rush it so that you get a good price, but it's not like it's too far away. So wait and see.
And a follow-up, is that cabriolet coming for the world? Can we expect it'll be in all markets for Mercedes?
In the relevant markets. Not every market in the world is a cabriolet market, but in all the relevant markets.
I want to ask about the SL. You mentioned that you bought one for yourself, and I had the pleasure of test driving the AMG SL63 SE Performance last week, and the power in that thing absolutely blew me away. And it wasn't until I was talking about it with Hannah that I actually looked up the specs and saw it's more than 800 horsepower and more than 1,000 pound-feet of torque. Then I started looking at other vehicles with those kind of power figures, and it's not till I get to a Lamborghini Revuelto at double the price that I start to see those kinds of figures. After that, you have to go to Bugatti and then Koenigsegg. How has that been received? And, $225,000 seemed like a hefty price tag until I noticed that power.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? And if you're an AMG fan, you're a performance fan. So you can never have enough performance. But I think the best news is that is a car that you can drive every day to work. So it's not just that you bought a supercar with unbelievable acceleration and performance and all that. It's a car that you can actually use every single day. And I think that's the unique position of AMG. You get motorsports on the road, but on the road Monday through Friday as well, not just for a Sunday afternoon outing. It's really a car that you would like to drive every single day.
Our thanks to Ola Kallenius for joining us. He's the chairman of the management board and CEO of Mercedes-Benz. I'm pretty excited about driving the convertible G-Wagon, the Cabrio G.
Yeah. My question is going to be like, how much of a cage does it have on it? Is it truly like open air, or does it have a cage kind of like a Jeep Wrangler? You know what I mean? Or are they truly going to go full cabrio?
No, I imagine it'll have some kind of roll cage. That looks pretty boss when they do it right.
Yeah.
Although I guess, did the older models just have a full convertible top?
It was open. It's been done.
Well, it'll be like $200,000. So I'm not going to be buying one anytime soon.
We can dream. That does it for this week's show. Remember to follow and subscribe to Hot Pursuit on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen. You can also send us your comments. Please send us your comments. Email us at hotpursuit@bloomberg.net.
And check out Hannah's columns and stories on Bloomberg.com and the Bloomberg Business app. Go there for car reviews, events, and stories that you won't find anywhere else. Find it all at Bloomberg.com/pursuits/autos. I'm Matt Miller.
And I'm Hannah Elliott. We'll be back in your podcast feed again next week.